Hi everybody, and welcome to Traveling with Russell, and welcome to Moscow region, and welcome to a very interesting review of a brand new metro station. You can see it right behind me. I'm actually right by the road here doing the introduction. This is Potapovo Metro Station. It's the new last station on the original red line here in Moscow, and I thought we need to go check it out. It opened a couple of days ago, so maybe this is the first English-speaking review of this station on all of YouTube. Let's go check it out together. I decided to come and do the tour today. It's actually Monday afternoon. The actual station opened on Saturday, so just a couple of days ago. But I thought I'd come when it's a little bit quieter, hopefully, and we can get a nice walk around of the entire station from literally right here by the main road to going onto a metro and then leaving the actual station itself. One thing that's very interesting is most of the metro in Moscow generally is all underground, and this is what's called a ground station. And you can actually see the roof coming from the left-hand side of the picture, and then into the station with this huge curved roof. Now, you'll have to maybe make up your own mind what you think it looks like. However, this is a ground station, so everything is literally above ground. And then if we spin around just a little bit, you can actually see where the metro comes from. And then off in the distance along this highway, it continues and eventually goes underground and then into the main network of the Moscow Metro. Everything that you're going to see as I'm walking towards the entrance and then eventually going inside is completely brand new, along with a lot of the surrounding area here as well, and this highway, and all of the housing and apartments on this side of the road are all pretty much brand new, and some of them actually aren't even finished. They're still doing the construction and final fit out before people actually eventually move in. But how lucky if about 2 years ago you decided to buy a place right here, and then the walk to the station is literally a few minutes. One thing I would definitely suggest is perhaps getting a nice comfy chair or getting a cup of tea. I think this review might be a little bit long. However, I've been asked by so many people, even as early as a few hours ago, for me to come and make a review and put it on social media, of course on my YouTube channel, and then some of the other social networks now that I'm trying to publish the videos on. So if this is your thing, I hope you enjoy it. And if not, you'll get to see what a brand new Moscow Metro station looks like. It does have a couple of quite unique features as well that is very unique to this station. I'll point that out a little bit later once we walk on inside. And also the thing is, the country of Russia is under extreme sanctions right now. I think it's got the most of any country in the whole world. And the challenges that they face building these stations, and all of the equipment and technical knowledge that goes into building them in such challenging times. And you're going to see what's possible in Russia, no matter what challenges that the government face and the builders of the Moscow Metro face now and have done for the last 50 years, 70 years. So I hope you enjoy this bit of a walk around. Interestingly, I've actually not been to this part of Moscow. I know I've driven along the highway here, but I've never paid a lot of attention to what you see out the window. Looks like they've also built a bus depot here as well for all of the buses that would leave from the metro station here. Perhaps this is now a new depot that they've just started, and then where you get off the metro and you might live further away. Nice and easy to get a connection from here on all of the blue buses. And these brand new apartments, absolutely walking distance from the entrance to the metro. How nice is this? Looks like a lot of people who live nearby are taking advantage of the station. And of course, with the beautiful weather right now, riding their bike down to the station itself right here. So perhaps they live within a reasonable ride. And then literally, the entrance is right here. Now what's really cool to see, and I hope you can notice this, is the entrance and exits match the main building, or the main structure that makes up the actual station itself. You can see this huge overhanging roof, and then the steel beams that make that up, and then they've replicated it right here on this entranceway. That's very neat. All this steel and glass. I will point this out a couple of times through the video. There is these very large maps always outside the entrances to metros and also on the platforms, and showing all of the stations of the Moscow Metro and also some of the suburban trains as well. And well, we are right down here in the very southwest of Moscow. And this red line was the original first line of the Moscow Metro. And it runs right through the center of Moscow up to the northeast. But Potapovo, literally days old right here. Let's go for a walk inside and see what it feels like in a brand new Moscow Metro station. Very typically when you come in on a ground station, they'll have just normal steps. And then this middle alley here, or laneway, is if you've got a pram for children or for wheelchairs. Now it's not very practical for people with wheelchairs. There is actually an elevator around the back, and we'll actually see the door of it at the top of the steps right here. So literally head on upstairs. The newer stations are actually a lot more accessible than the ones that are in the center of Moscow. It is constantly something I read in comments about showing the accessibility of Moscow. And of course, where you've got stations that are 50 or 70 years old, in the very center of Moscow, it's not very possible to change what was built so long ago to modernize it. Just looking out the window here, you can actually see them doing the gardens right here, so they'll remove these fences eventually. And you'll be able to walk to the apartments and to some shops. There is actually a pharmacy already open in that first building right there. So they're busy doing all of the pathways and the decoration that makes up the surrounding area of the platform. So the actual station itself is in the middle of the highway. So we just need to cross the bridge from one to the other. The actual doorway there for the lift. And this very big superstructure that they built over the highway. So it literally crosses over one part of the highway where we started the video, right here, and then keeps going on to the other side of the road. So really, if you do live in this area, you've got lots of new connectivity to get to or from where you live. Super interesting. Only a few days old, and I'm in the middle of the day here, so people probably going to or from work or coming home from school now. And we can get a good look at this structure here a little bit better from the bridge. And this huge metal curved roof that they built going over the entire platform. And it's just amazing the amount of work that goes into these. Generally between about 2 and 5 years for them to build them and have them finished and opened. They are literally doing it around the clock. And then there's continuous construction of the actual line itself. Then the platforms can be built above ground like this. So walking on through. So you can actually keep walking to the other side of the highway or go on inside. And you can see here we came through entrance 5 or exit 5, and then basically the fact that we're at the first station of the Red Line. They build everything as though it's the first or last station or middle station. And then we just need to walk through Potapovo, Red Line number 1. And then we'll pass through here by the security point. Now, if you have a bag like this, they'll actually do a quick check for you. And if you've got luggage, they've actually got a scanner right there. So this beautiful lady decides if you're going to get checked or not. And very convenient. So both ends of this station are replicated. So what I'm seeing here is exactly the same on the opposite side. So there's another navigation. This one's actually digital. This one's super nice. You can actually put in some other extra information here. There's a call point. And then again, the map letting you know where you're going. They like to make sure on the metro that we absolutely know where we are and where we're going and not get lost. Even a cash machine. And if you want also to rent one of these phone chargers, they've got these drop off and pick up points everywhere. And then for the 2 different counters here, they've got one that's the security and police. Right there, you can see all the TV screens for the monitors. And then if you want to top up your card right here, this is basically a self-checkout where if you've got a existing transport card, you can top it up. Or if you're riding for the first time, they've got the counter here where you can actually buy tickets physically. And if you're just buying one trip, you can buy a ticket. And you can see somebody topping up their card on these new modern machines. They're getting more fancy every time we ride the metro. And then we can go through to the platform. So there is a couple of new ways now that you can walk through the platform here. So if you've got a card, you can tap it on the screen. Hopefully these couple of people are going to do that. Literally, you just tap it on there and then walk on through, just like that. That first lady used her transport card. And then this gentleman's trying to use a card to go through as well. There it goes. So he had it upside down. And then you can actually see here, there's some little pictures. And they have what's called face recognition payment. And via the Metro app, you can connect your credit card or bank card. And then when you actually come up to the actual stop point right here, where these little circles are, it will actually read your biometrics and then open the gate and you can pass through. Simple as that. And this is completely unmanned or unladied. And everybody does this by normal, basically, methods. You'll see how easy it is there just to tap the card and walk on in.
This is Russian, man.
Yes! Thank you so much. And then look at that. There is literally no worries. Most people, as they approach the gates, already have their payment type in their hand. And it's just a matter of a few seconds, and you can head on down to the platform. As a few people come off the train that just arrived, I'm super curious how many people perhaps live in this immediate area and they're going home or maybe to work somewhere, and how many people are just like me, just coming for a bit of a nosy and coming to look and see what it's like at a brand new station. And I'm sure everybody who live immediately here must be super happy that they can walk home or catch a bus and not have to travel as far now since this opened a few days ago. For my transport all over Moscow, I use what's called a Troika card. And this is the card that you can use to catch metros, buses, trains, even the electric river trams. And what I do, I just basically top it up every time I need to add funds to it. And then to literally use it to get on the metro, I just tap the card right here. We get the green signal and we can head on through just like that. Coming through the turnstiles into the landing on the upper level of the station, you finally get a view of the main platform, and you can see just how bright it is and how well lit it is. Of course, huge glass windows letting light in. Now, during the day, of course, it's different to at night time, but this is the point of a ground station that they can let as much light in as possible, and it can be just beautiful as a train pulls up. Now, throughout the video, there's going to be lots of trains coming and going, so mind the noise. Let's head on down to the platform to get a little bit of a closer look. One thing that's interesting today is the amount of people who are actually getting off and going home or going to somewhere nearby. I think a lot of people will be super happy, especially everybody who lives in the immediate district of this station. And I think today while I'm here, there's not too many train and metro enthusiasts who have just come to see the station versus if I was here a few days ago and it was a lot busier. Have a look at this very big structure that they built over the center of the platform, basically holding up the whole roof. Very interesting what the shape is meant to depict. There's basically two of them. It's actually steel beams, and then they've covered it in concrete or in cement panels. And then on the roof, all these recessed lights. It looks like stars. I would imagine in the evening time, there's a completely different feel to this platform, as the train that just left is going to turn around and come right by us. Let me get a good view of it coming back and it pulling up to start its route back to Moscow. This is one of the modern, newer trains on the line. Very nice. There's quite a few people waiting to get on, especially for the fact it's the first stop at the start of a metro line. So lots of people now heading into Moscow and going about their day. And you can see once the train boards, the platform empties out just a little bit. One gentleman may be waiting for somebody, or is doing just like me and coming to enjoy a brand new metro station here in Moscow region. And just like that, the train departs. And actually, on the other side, the next one arrives right at the same time. So there isn't a very big turnaround between the trains on the platform here, roughly about 2 minutes, perhaps maybe as big as 3 minutes is the time difference. And we can see here also these seats. Now somebody told me that they look like boats, or the hull of a boat. So perhaps let me know if that's what you think it looks like. I think this gentleman found his friend. So yeah, if you think that looks like the hull of a boat, it might be an interesting thought. And there is essentially two exits. The one where we've walked down and then the one in front of me here. They're absolutely replicated. The only difference, one goes to one side of the highway, which you might be able to see through the window, and to the micro district just behind there. You'll see all the new apartments that are being built. And then the one that I came down is to the opposite side of the highway. So what's basically happening is the train that's coming from Moscow to the last station here is disembarking all the passengers. and then it goes through the tunnel to what's called a reversible dead end. So it goes through the tunnel and then it changes and comes back in the reverse direction. So depending on how they've got it set up, the driver would get out at one end and get back on at the other end and drive on off. And this one's now waiting to depart. So there generally is a pause when they come to the last station so that they can catch up back to the timetable and be on schedule between the next one arriving and the next one leaving. Let's go for a walk along this lower edge of the platform. Now the one thing I'm missing, I don't have that new station smell. It's not as distinct here. I think because it's a ground station, there's a lot of air circulation inside the station, and then also coming through the windows and paneling, especially the fact that it's been open only for a couple of days. So as this train is about to leave, the next train is turning up, and then we can also see here. So if we were in the middle of the route, there would be all the stations on one side or the other. But of course, it's saying here no boarding on the right side because it's the last station. And then all of the stations that head into Moscow. So there's also quite a lot of connecting metros once you get closer to the center. Ochotny Ryad is right there by Red Square. And then there also will be a connecting station at the first next station, Novomoskovskiy, when that opens, I think, later this year or perhaps early next year. So there's going to be an immediate connection at the next station, which is pretty interesting. As this train leaves, let's get a bit of noise, shall we? Not sure how loud this is going to be. Wow, how's the action shots? That's pretty fun. There is quite a lot of navigation maps on the platform that you can have a look at, and of course the exits are marked out here. So generally when you're coming here, if you don't live in this area, you might want to look on the map ahead of time to know which exit to go out of. So 7 different exits. One is basically one side and one's the other side. It's quite straightforward. And then also all the connecting buses as well that go out to the micro districts of this region. You can also connect back up to the orange metro line, or even take a bus back to the next station if you wanted to. I imagine those buses were more popular before this opened a couple of days ago. And then now they're probably running empty. We can see the tunnel here. Let's see if we can catch the next train coming. You can normally get a bit of a sound of it coming through. Maybe not. I do hope you're enjoying this casual walk around of Potapovo Metro Station. Lots of people have asked me to come and give my thoughts and walk around and explain what I see here at the station. So please, I hope you're enjoying it, and let me know in the comments what you think of the station. As the next train comes to the platform, I never get tired of that sound or that noise of it coming through the tunnel. So we actually see here the driver is doing their changeover. So the trains come to the end of the route, everyone's getting off, and then what I imagine is the driver now, who's going to take over the next trip, gets on from the back end, and of course once the train turns around, he'll then be the driver back to Moscow. So he gets to drive backwards at least through the tunnel at least. And there's probably a few seconds till it heads off. There it goes. So many of these things you just don't notice when you're catching the train casually and going to or from somewhere. You don't see that driver changeover, and it's happening at literally every station, on every train, or at certain points on the route where the drivers change their shifts and start and end the routes. As I walk around, that driver that we saw just leaving, or was at the back of the train, is now driving the train, and then here he comes back again, just like that. And then everybody waiting to get on for the next trip into Moscow. What I've done throughout this video is I've actually filmed little bits, then I've stopped, then I filmed a little bit more, and of course there's lots of trains coming and going, and I can't really avoid getting him in the background of the video, and that's the whole point of this video, right? To see metro trains and seeing them head on off into Moscow. And literally from this point to get to Red Square, it's about 40 minutes. And I think it's around about 15 or 16 stations. I'm not exactly sure. I should have counted them. I should do more research. However, the one thing that's incredibly unique about this station, and it's the only one on the Moscow Metro network, is this is the first ground station that's heated or has climate control. So in summertime like it is now, they've got air conditioning, and it's actually very comfortable. It's actually cooler in here than it is outside. It's a beautiful day in Moscow today. And then in wintertime, it'll have heating, and it's the only heated metro station in all of the Moscow Metro, and perhaps the all of Russia, I think. I definitely read up about it, and it's a big deal. There is 4 incredibly big fans or turbines on the roof, and that's what gives this its uniqueness. Potapovo station. There's another train comes right now. I love it. Now, I could stand here all day without even the camera on, and you don't get tired of the trains coming and going. It's obviously a lot different when I'm filming a video like this, especially, versus everybody that you'll see getting on and off at the stations going about their day. And I'm the same way as well. When I go into Moscow, I'm not paying much attention to the station that I'm getting on and off at. I just want to get somewhere and enjoy my day and utilize public transport to its fullest. However, this unique station that's heated or cooled in summer is very unique. And if you're living somewhere else in the world, let me know. Do you have a train station that has air conditioning? Does it have heating? And does it compare to this station as I show you more of this walk around or Potapovo Metro Station? I do get lots of questions about the Moscow Metro in the comments of other videos, and one of them is about accessibility and how easy it is to get in and out of the stations. And of course, the more modern stations like this one do have access points like elevators and lifts. And actually on the map right here, or at least the guide, it tells you all the exits. And then there is actually an arrow that points you to the lifts around the corner. So very typically though, if you were to take the steps to go out of the station, they've got the normal steps on the right like you see. And then this middle or left-hand side right here is a ramp that can be used by bikes, scooters, and then there's this trackway where you could go up and down it with a pram. Really, for a wheelchair, it's not possible, but very often people who have prams would use this to go up and down. And then the actual lift or elevator is around the corner here. We'll make sure we point it out and definitely show it, as the one train is leaving and the other train is arriving. So you can see here the lifts, and then actually there's also letting you know the exit points as well. So nice and easy to get up to the platform level to leave the station. I'm pretty sure that the architects who designed these new stations want them all to be different and to be not looking like the previous one, because it's very easy for them to just keep cutting and pasting the design and the layout and make them look the same. As the next train comes, it's nearly impossible to film a video and not get the metro trains in between the different cuts that I'm doing, because they run about every 2 minutes or 3 minutes, depending on the time of day. So everybody gets ready to head off again. These huge pylons, I think I'm going to call them, very interesting. There's almost a look of a tail of a whale. That's what I kind of first thought when I looked at it. Maybe to somebody it's something else. The one thing that is very nice is that you can see right out across the highway and to the apartments off in the distance. And imagine a couple of days ago when this opened, how much easier it is to get to Moscow for everybody living here. Literally walk over the bridge and you're straight on the train. So these are the very typical metro maps that you see at all the stations and then outside on the streets as well. So you can see where we are right now, all the way down here in the bottom corner almost. This is line 1, which is the first and original metro line in Moscow. And then pretty much the center of Moscow, somewhere around about here. Here is Gorky Park. Ochotny Ryad is where is Alexander Garden and Red Square. And then pretty much once you're in those middle few stations, you can connect to any other metro station. The one that they're working on connecting up is right here. This is not finished yet. There's only 4 stations done. And then the last 2 stations and this connecting one is still being built right now. So they're showing it as open on this map, but of course it's not. And when I first moved to Russia, my last station was Yugosapana. Then I had to take the bus home. Then they eventually opened it to Salarevo, which is where I normally catch the metro from. So look how they've extended it even in the years that I've lived here. And then my actual house is down here, which actually we're not that far away physically by car. It's around about 25 minutes by car. However, by public transport, it's a little bit of a lap or a loop around to get here. One thing that's interesting is they give you a green light for filming if you're using your own personal camera. But if you're using commercial equipment, you're not allowed to. As there is now 2 trains at the platform at the same time. And this waiting is basically for the trains to basically catch up to the timing of the ones in front of it. So it's all timed up beautifully. You can see people getting off. And then I wonder again, just looking around, there isn't that many people that are just hanging around like me and staring at the station. Maybe. Lots of people are literally heading on out. So there'll be a few people that have just ridden it specially just to come and see the station. Maybe they leave only 1 or 2 stations away. And the idea is just to come and see it and feel it and breathe it and get an idea what the newest station on the Moscow Metro looks like. To give you the full experience, I'm going to do a little bit more of a walk around and head back outside. And both platforms on either end are exactly the same. They're basically duplicated. So you've of course got one exit way and then one entryway, which is how we walked in to start the video. And again, all these lights, they've not spared the lighting. They could have probably put a few less, However, I think it's all about the look of the station. Now, I'm going to ask this again because it got lots of questions before and lots of answers. So as I walk along this tiled walkway, there's actually these different tiles that are actually rippled or raised. And I want a few people, or at least somebody, to let me know in the comments why these are here. It might be interesting for somebody in a different country who may not know the answer to this, what the reason is. But if anyone can let me know in the comments, it'll be nice. And we can see here, as we head out exit 1 through 4, it actually lets you know some of the streets and businesses nearby that you can head to. This is very common at any metro station throughout Russia, where it gives you lots of information about where you're getting outside of the station and heading to your destination. Of course, the more modern, newer ones tend to be even more updated. So it's even telling you the local supermarket nearby, or at least some of the landmarks that are within 5 minutes walk of the station. Exit 1 to 4. So I think we really need to go out the main number 1 exit. Now again, if you're ever on the Moscow Metro, make sure you know what exit you need to go out so that you can make sense of where you need to go. If not, you've got a bit of a walk in one direction or the other. So this walk bridge here goes over the highway. Also got vending machines. They seem to have branded them as the train station vending machines. And I think they brought the use of them within the Moscow Metro network. Lots of snacks, most of the usual things, some energy drinks, some chips, and one over here with candy bars and more drinks. There's even sandwiches as well. If you want a chicken and a lettuce sandwich, I think the other one might be ham and cheese. And then even different new flavors of Snickers bars. So plenty of snacks. And then also coffee as well if you want. I did promise myself for this video that I'd give as much detail as possible. And I know there is a lot of people who are train fanatics or metro fanatics and were waiting for me to make a video at this station and give my walk around and thoughts, and do it in English as well, because of course most bloggers and vloggers here in Russia make all of their content in Russian. So there won't be too many people, if anybody, who's doing English-speaking content showing the metro stations like this. As we walk right over the main highway here, now we really are in Moscow region and we're out in the suburbs. So these highways aren't particularly busy with traffic. We're really quite a fair way from Moscow. And I think it would almost be easier to get the metro to the center of Moscow than it would be to drive these roads. However, they built a lot of this stuff in the last 3 or 5 years to make more connectivity with these southwestern suburbs of Moscow. Coming around the corner, they've actually got ramps. So again, if you've got children with a pram, it's nice and easy. And then we just have to do a few steps and go down. It's very spacious, especially for a suburban station. They do like to build them very big and very large and very high capacity. And you can see literally absolutely clean as a whistle, as the expression goes. And I think this will stay like this. The people at work in the Moscow Metro, really take pride in how these places look. And the people who ride the metro as well appreciate them, that they don't drop litter. There's no rubbish on the ground or chewing gum or anything like that. So it's absolutely pristine. plenty of signage to let us know which way to go. And again, if you want to use the lifts, they have them also to get back up to the street level. Now, I'm almost a little bit lost because where I came in and where I'm going out is two different ways. So again, this exit 1 or exit 2, and then there's more maps here. They let us know there's a supermarket in this direction, and then we can see here where we came from the platform, and then out over here to the street area where we're going to walk out to. Coming out at street level of exit 1. Now we really are in an absolutely brand new part of Moscow, and all of these roads and highways and housing have been built in the last 3 years, perhaps 5 years at the most. So there's not lots to see, and perhaps to some people it's not beautiful. And there is actually, though, a very large hypermarket off in the distance called Globus, which I've done many videos in before in different locations. I've never been to this one out here, and they've got a little bit more of the paving to do. I think the last part here by the drains, it's always the trickiest bit, right, with all the cuts. And then what we can see then off in the distance is the main structure of the station. Now, I've had two different answers about the look of the station, and somebody says it's a ship or the bottom of a boat, and some people even say it looks like a spaceship. And I can see both answers. The actual metal framework that they've got over the station is almost corrugated, or it's got holes in it, so to let as much light in as possible. And then somebody said that it was designed by AI, which I'm not sure if I would agree with that. But if somebody can perhaps let me know. The one thing they have done is they've matched up the roof structure of the main building with the exits. So you can actually get a good look here with a light in the other direction. This roof that matches up, and then the very famous M metro sign, and then the red there indicates the actual line color. So there's a lot of matching of the station. They do their best to absolutely make it, you know, as aesthetically pleasing as possible. Even these curved benches, which they could have just put normal ones in. However, these are something unique for the station. A few people have left their bikes here as well. Probably headed off into the center of Moscow. And have a look at all the construction going on right here. You can literally live steps away from the station. How nice would that be? I love getting these action shots of the train coming through the tunnel. Here it comes! And then everybody eagerly waiting to get on and off on their day somewhere. Maybe they're even going home from here, I wonder. Having now walked in and out of the station a couple of times to make the whole video, now there's nobody actually sitting here on the benches. And does it look like a boat? Does it look like a spaceship? Now, it definitely looks like the roof structure and how they've matched it up. That's definitely noticeable now that you see from the outside and then see here inside. Now, let me know in the comments what you think and how interesting it looks. They do try to make these look different on every station, and this certainly is very unique about its look and this roof structure and the lighting pattern that they put in as well. There's obviously a lot of emphasis on the natural light coming in through the windows and how bright it is during the day. Of course, this is summertime as well, so it's even more beautiful. One other interesting fact about this station, or the name of the station, is it was chosen via the citizens' website or portal, where you can actually vote on new projects. And in particular, you can vote on the name of the stations for the train lines. You can even vote on the names of the animals in the zoo as well. And by majority vote, Potapovo was chosen for the name of this station, although the immediate area around it is called something else. So it's really interesting that the government allow the local citizens of the area vote on the name of the stations and try to match it up as best they can to the area where everybody lives and who will use it, and not just let some government bureaucrat choose the name of the station, which I really like that idea as much as possible. We can vote and choose the name of the station that we're going to ride. I don't think it would be a metro video if we don't go and ride the metro, or at least just one station. So it's going to be only a few minutes, and we're on one of the more modern 2019 edition metro trains. Now, if you do keep up with my channel, I've actually showed you recently one of the 2024 editions, and even more modern than this. The one thing this has got the full walk-through cabin, so there is a lot of space and more high capacity. It has multiple doors as well. Now, I'm pretty sure we're going to leave in a minute or so, and we'll actually walk through the actual train gradually as we leave, and we'll ride to the next station, which is just over 3 kilometers from where we are here to what was the previous last station. Now, when you're actually at the last station like we are here, there's always going to be a waiting period from when it arrives, letting people off, to the turnaround, to then leaving. So if you run down the steps thinking you're just going to make it, usually you've got more time and it's not a problem. So the actual portion of the ride we're going to take is actually completely above ground. So the actual metro itself, once you go closer to Moscow, you go underground, of course, up to 95 meters, I think it is the deepest. And the longest escalator is 127 meters long, or just about 3 minutes on an escalator from the street down to the platform. So we're not going to ride the metro that far today. Hopefully we're going to leave fairly quickly. Now, the idea is there's a break between the trips so that all of the trains in front and behind can keep to a schedule. Really interesting how many people are on this for the middle of the day, and how many people perhaps live in this immediate area. As the doors close, now the actual station we're going to go to changed names as well. So it was previously called Kommunarka station, and now it's called Novomoskovskiy, or New Moscow, which is what this whole region is called generally. As we walk through, we leave the platform, and we're now pretty much in the tunnel, and we can see the light vents here and all of the electrical cables and workings. Little bit of a turn. Now the actual metro itself is nice and smooth. We're not going at full speed as we would once we got closer to Moscow. We're only going to be riding for 3 kilometers, so we're not going that far. We can actually also see the highway just through the gaps. It's not so easy to see, you've got to catch it every now and again. And me, of course, walking through is not the polite thing to do on a metro train. You're meant to be nice and quiet, and it's meant to be like a library. And me talking, I'm breaking that rule of catching public transport in Moscow. as we get a little bit closer to the station. Hopefully you can see the actual train moving. You can see now that turn that we're making to the right, and then the bend of the train catches back up again. It's very strange when you walk through while it's moving. These trains are really nice. They've also got the maps here that are digital. There's USB charging as well. And this isn't even the modern train. This is now an old edition from 2019. However, they're still beautiful, and they're still an enjoyable way to catch transport in Moscow. Some of the people catching the train as well, as I think we're reaching the station, and our 3-kilometer journey has reached its climax as we head on outside and briefly have a look at what was the last station until just a couple of days ago. We can see all the future stations right there. And let's head on outside and have a look at this last station very briefly. I've actually been here before and done a walk around myself. All the stations are different. They're all differently designed. This has the columns rather than the center structure as my train heads on off. And now from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually end the video at Potapovo, but I'm going to be outside. So depending on where I place this in the video, it's going to be a little bit out of sync, but it makes complete sense when you're watching it now. So I hope you found even seeing this station interesting. You'll see here the benches are also different as well. So second last station on this side, and then is there a map on this side? There is. And then you've got the wall hanging map, and there's also the stations up here as well. So of course, naturally, most people are going to be going into Moscow, maybe the occasional person riding it to the next station. And as I get on to ride back to Potapovo, let's see how full it is going to the last station. And perhaps everybody just like me want to go and see a new station, or maybe they're at the last stop and they've come all the way through the red line from Moscow and they want to head on home. Actually, the map's right here, so you can see all those red line stations right to the end just there. Of all of the metro trains that I've seen today, I think this might be one of the retro trains. And wow, and I got to ride the modern one, and here is one of the retro older models that they basically refurbish into the original styling of the Moscow Metro. Now, I don't want to jump on it because I've just ridden back here, but it's got the padded seats right there, and it's really a fun train to ride because of those comfy padded seats. As we let it leave the station, it's really a bit of a lottery about which metro trains you're going to see from time to time, as this just slowly leaves the station. That's really cool that we got to catch that in the video. That was really neat to see the old train just then, and for me, I'm slowly becoming a transport geek or transport fan, if that's the right word. And I get excited when I see a different model of train after being here for a couple of hours actually, and seeing so many come and go, that we got to see one of the oldest trains, or one of the retro trains, on the newest station in Moscow. Coming out finally to the street and to wind up the video, and for me to head off further into Moscow for a future video. You got some pretty neat seating out here. Now, I don't know how many people actually would use them. However, it's very interesting, out of metal and wood, and to match the building and structure itself. Definitely the architects have that little bit of freedom to do something a little bit different, and I'm not sure what inspires these circles. Of course, the roof structure perhaps is the nearest matching piece of design. If anybody knows anything more about them, let me know. As I head on down the street and leave Potapovo Station behind me. Now, if somebody can correct me, and if you've made it to the end of the video, please let me know if I'm saying the word Potapovo Metro Station correctly, because the voiceover in the train that I rode back said it very differently to what I thought was the right pronunciation of the station. So if I'm saying it wrong, please correct me. If you've enjoyed the video, give it a big thumbs up, maybe 2 thumbs up even. And I really hope you've enjoyed this walk around, an extended look and tour of Potapovo Metro Station. And I've certainly enjoyed it. And I'm actually not that far from where I live geographically. However, I'll end up having to catch the train back and then a bus to my house eventually. By car from here, it's about 20 or 25 minutes. There's literally this new highway, then the old highway, and then I'd be home. However, I don't have a car, so I catch public transport, which is not a worry. I enjoy catching the trains and the buses. If anyone doesn't know, my father was actually a bus driver for most of his life. So I grew up catching buses. I grew up riding the buses that he drove. On the weekends, that was my Saturdays and Sundays, catching the buses wherever he drove around Perth in the city where we lived, or where they still live now. Of course, I'm here in Moscow. So yeah, if you like the video, again, thumbs up. I'm a little bit going off track now. Post a comment, let me know what you think, and all the unique features that I've showed you. The first ground heated station in the metro network. So I'm curious to come back in winter when it's -20 to feel how nice and toasty it is inside, and how warm. And of course now with the heat and the afternoon sun, that air conditioning there did actually feel very nice. I can only imagine the amount of workings that go into the ceiling structure with all of the fans and ducting that they've had to put in there to include that into the build of the station. It's really amazing. Okay, everybody, if you want to join me on Telegram, click this button right here. And I posted a few photos from today as well, so you can see some other photos of the station. And if you want to see an old video, there's one coming up right now, and you can keep traveling with Russell. Okay, everybody, I'm off on another adventure. Bye.